Welcome to Backyard Family Fun, the podcast from Pride Pools, Spas, and Leisure Products. In Claxton and Savannah, Georgia, celebrating 50 years serving our community, this family-owned business has spent decades helping create memories that last a lifetime. Whether you're a pool owner, a spa lover, or just looking to turn your outdoor space into a true retreat, we've got you covered right here on the Backyard Family Fun podcast. And as a crazy awesome deal for our Backyard Family Fun podcast fans, you get 10% off anything inside either location in Claxton and Savannah, excluding pools, hot tubs, or saunas when you mention the podcast. That's all you have to do. Go and visit the Claxton or Savannah Pride Pools, mention the podcast, and get 10% off. Now that's a reason to celebrate. Welcome back to Backyard Family Fun. I'm Dee Daniels, and we are here at Pride Pools, Spas, and Leisure Products. And this time we are in the Claxton location, which I'm very excited to be back in Claxton. Marshall Smith on the mic with me for this episode. Marshall, always good to see you in Claxton of all places.
Thank you. Yeah, always good to be with you, Dee. And I'm excited that you're back in Claxton from where we started. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so excited to be with you today and look forward to our time together.
Yeah, we're winding down season 1 here, and it has been such a great journey, really, just going through some of these important pool and spa topics. And we're going to talk about, kind of just do a little recap of some of the things that we've talked about in case you've missed some of those episodes. Before we do that, Marshall, I wanted to tell you I was on the phone with my mom this morning and telling her we were going to be back in Claxton today, and she reminded me, home of the fruit cakes and home of the rattlesnakes.
That's it. That's that, cakes and snakes. We've got that going on here, and been doing that for quite a while. The fruitcake business has been since turn of the century. I mean, well, the last century, but yeah, we've been doing the rattlesnake roundup. I think people call it Rattlesnake and Wildlife Festival. They don't call it Roundup anymore, but yeah, it's a big part of our community, and it's something that we celebrate in March, and so we're excited when it comes around each year. And so, but we like to add one item to that list of snakes and cakes, even though it doesn't rhyme, but we like to think of pools and spas as well, because we've been doing this for 50 years, and we feel like this is where it started in Evans County. And so we're excited to be able to continue to offer that, hopefully for the next generation as well. So yeah, we add to snakes and cakes with pools and spas.
I agree. I think actually that could go at the beginning. I mean, it'd be a nice tagline for the area: pools, spas, cakes, and snakes.
Yeah, that's right. Like that would. Yeah,
it's a nice rhythm to it.
It does.
And,
nice cadence, and just that's right. Right.
It is a joy to celebrate 50 years all year long here on this show, and Pride Pools is certainly a big part of the community. And coming up in next couple episodes, we'll be talking a little bit more about that. I kind of want to go back to a few of our episodes, Marshall. I remember one of the first episodes that we really talked about the relationship with the customers was during the Customer Appreciation Week that went on here. That was a huge success.
Yeah, it was. And so what we typically do each year, we do a week of customer appreciation, right? So that's something we've always tried to do for many years, but we're trying to, because we're celebrating 50 years, we're trying to do that all year long. And so we're trying to have something every week for our customers to be able to either win or celebrate with us by doing certain things that we feel like we're giving back to our customers. And so we're excited to continue to do it, all year long. And so doing 50 years and being able to do it every week is something that we've had to get kind of creative, but that's been fun. That's the fun part of it. So we are Backyard Family Fun. And so, it's been up to this point, it's been wonderful, and looking forward to the rest of the year.
One thing I love to see, and I've seen it even just when we were setting up today, customers coming in that have been longtime customers and coming in to see what's new, because there's always something new.
There is. Our industry, I would say, probably for the first 30 years, you didn't see a lot of evolution. But I would say over the last 20 years that we've been in business, there's been a lot of evolution in our industry with just new products, maybe new technology. Obviously, technology is driving a lot of that.
Sure.
And so, we've been able to hopefully make ourselves knowledgeable to all of that. And so been able to then pass that along to our customers. And so it's been exciting to see the evolution of our industry over the past 20 years and what we've been able to bring to the marketplace.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. And it's a wealth of knowledge that everyone here on the team has. You may even hear some of them in the background while we're talking because we're set up right here in the main room as you come into Claxton. And one of our most listened to episodes this season has been the Pump Up the Fun episode, which was all about not only pool care kind of in general, but really kind of we sort of tunneled into the pumps and the filters.
right.
Talk a little bit about that episode and sort of the importance of both of those things.
Well, sure. So we believe that any new body of water, whether it's a pool or a spa, has to be treated properly. And so educating the consumer about the importance of that is just, it helps us. Well, what it does is it helps us stay educated, but it's also helping us deliver the information that is crucial to good, happy customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, from the proper type of filters for that body of water, the proper pump for that body of water, and then combining those efforts and making sure that we have the right combination for whatever we're working with. And so, yeah, I think knowing what consumers have and then us having the information to put with that helps us help them have a beautiful blue water. And so that's what our goal is. And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those educational things that is important to customer satisfaction and ours as well, because we really love smiling faces when
Right.
they walk in the door.
That's
and
right.
especially when they're leaving too, so that they're very happy with the investment they've made, whether it be a pool or a spa.
Yeah, it goes such a long ways because I've even seen so many folks, have that first concern of like, okay, I've got the pool, I've got this pump, and I know what I need to do. What if something goes wrong? Can I go back? Can I
Sure.
have a conversation? Where do I go from there?
right.
And you guys are able to really calm that
Sure.
right from the go.
Right. Well, I think anybody, whether you're buying anything in life, whether it be a luxury item or just anything that's a want, or maybe in our case, we like to think of it as a want, but as a need as well, because we see the therapeutic piece of it that works for consumers. And so for us to give them peace of mind that they've made the proper investment with the right company by delivering that information. In other words, making sure that we're a phone call away from, and so we make sure that they're informed as best as we can inform. And then when there is we're here to help them smooth it over and make sure that, everything can get back up to speed and there's no issue. So, yeah.
I have a feeling you have had been on the other end of a frantic phone call every now and then because listen, when the pool goes down or something
Sure.
is not working right and you've got plans.
And it's just before July 4th or,
goodness.
whatever, any holiday.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so we scramble to make sure that we ease their mind, give them the proper information. And I would say 99% of the time, because nobody's perfect, but I would say 99% of the time, everybody says, "Oh, that worked. Thank you."
Yes.
And so hallelujah. And then we're smiling, everybody's smiling, and everybody's having fun.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
We had a great Marshall listener question come in about pumps and filters that I wanted to ask you. And a lot of it was revolving around because we have such high temperatures here in this area,
Yeah.
a good portion of the year. How long should I run my pump, when I'm getting into August and
Sure.
September and that sort
Sure.
of thing?
I would tell you that's probably the most asked question, but it's the most crucial question because giving the right information is vital. And I think that's one of the best questions we would ever receive because giving the proper advice is crucial. Heat is our nemesis. In other words, heat can create things that we don't want in the water. All right. So if we're turning that water over, the more we turn it over and circulate that water, the better off we are. So I would tell you during the dead of the summer we recommend 24/7, just because of the heat that we experience, from early June till the end of August. Typically, those 3 months, you're going to want to try to do it 24/7. If you don't, because everything is so automated though now, so that they can program that system to where they can have it run. And again, we're talking about pools. And so you can program it to be 18 hours. It can be, 12 hours. It can be 6 hours, whatever the case is. But we do recommend during the hottest time of the year to operate that pool or to have that pump running 24/7, because we've done the math on everything. Running that pump is cheaper than the chemicals it takes to solve the problem.
Right.
So people say, well, you're a chemical company. Why would you say that? Well, because we want happy customers. We want them to understand this is a long game. We want them happy with the investment they made. So circulation and filtration is paramount over chemicals, because if you've got those two things going, then you're going to use less chemical.
Right.
So less chemical, less money. You may spend a little more in the energy, but that's less than what the chemicals would be to solve the problem.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be my first thing coming in, is saying, I honestly would like to use less chemicals.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, to have somebody that's also thinking the same way.
Sure.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so again, it's for us, it's new bodies of water that are clean, clear, and happy customers. And so we're going to give them the best information, whether it's, I wouldn't say detrimental for us, but I would just say it's the kind of information that makes them happy to hear coming from us. And so we're always going to lead a consumer down a path of confidence, not of, oh, well, I'm not going to go there. And they're not, they're just wanting to do this, this, and this. So our goal is to, again, have happy customers and know they can depend on the information we give them that's going to make them happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something to be said about, walking in and somebody...
Integrity,
Yeah,
Sure.
It's what it is,
That's right.
I'm not getting... You're not trying to sell me something all the time.
That's right.
It's really about, the end game, the long game,
That's
like
right.
you said.
That's right.
That's what it is. If you want to go back and listen to the Pumps and Filters episode, it's really, really good. It's called Pump Up the Fun. One of my other favorites is we talked about designing your dream backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And... I think really what stuck out to me in that episode was kind of the collaboration that happens when you are deciding to put a pool in your yard,
Right.
and that there are other things that are going to make that kind of a whole vision.
Mm-hmm. That's
and,
right.
And this is something that is a collaborative effort with Pride Pools.
That's right. It is. So again, we were talking just a few minutes ago about how the evolution of our industry and how is it, so it's probably progressed more in the past 20 than it did in the first 50 years of our industry. So much has changed. And so you've got consumers who are very discerning, who may see things they like, whether they were on vacation or whatever that may be, or their neighbor, and they see something in the backyard, they like that. So we've kept ourselves educated to the point where if you come in the door and you're asking for certain specific items to be on your in-ground swimming pool, I would say 90% of the time we can deliver that. So being educated, being prepared to know that whatever that customer is looking for in what that design looks like, whether it be the design piece, whether it be the landscaping around it, whether it be whatever, water features, anything that may catch their eye to say, yeah, this is what I want on my pool, we're able to walk them through that and give them a 3D effect of what that would look like. And so having that ability goes a long way in making sure consumers are happy with the finished product in the backyard. Yeah.
We had an excellent listener question from that episode about how close can we put a fire element, and I'm not sure if that's like a solar stove or a fire pit, but a fire element to the pool.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I'll be honest with you, not to suggest we're not informed, but I would say I don't know if there is a logical, it's probably just a logic answer.
Okay.
As opposed to maybe being a legal standard.
Sure.
So the logical answer to that question would be, at least 20 feet away.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to want to be, again, depends on the product that you have, whether it be vinyl, whether it be a fiberglass product or whatever the case is. You're going to want to make sure that body of fire. We do water, but we also do fire.
Yeah,
And so fire
yeah.
and water here. So, but I would think that's a safe distance to be away from the body of water, so that if there's any, depending on what type of product you're using for the fire, whether it be the solo stove like we carry, or if it's just a regular fire pit that you're burning normal wood or whatever the case is, you may have a pop or two with embers, and what we have seen is that if you're 20 feet away, it's not going to have an impact.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb to make sure that we're not too close to that body of water.
Yeah.
So
Listen, that's an excellent answer,
Yeah.
because my answer would have been not too close.
That's right. That's right. So and when we're designing backyards and designing things around that pool, we take some of those things, those logical things, into consideration when we're thinking about it. So when we put it into a 3D effect, so consumers can see what that would look like, that's kind of the measuring stick that we use to make sure it's at a safe distance.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. And we do appreciate the question. One of I want to say probably my favorite episode that you and I had sat down and did together was the one about above ground pools.
Mm-hmm.
Before, spending a lot of time inside the Savannah and Claxton location of Pride Pools, I had no idea how far above ground pools had come,
Yeah.
and we had such a great conversation about
Yeah,
that. So
we
remind our
did.
listeners a little bit about that.
We,
one.
and so great, Dee, great, and I don't know if there were any questions that have come in on the above ground episode or not, but when it comes to, I think, okay, we're talking about visuals, right? So yes, above ground pools have come a long way in that we can subsink those, we can put those partially in the ground, come back with a wood deck. There's a number of things to create that visual effect that you're trying to accomplish. And so having above ground pools that are designed to be able to do that is where we've come a long way. You get traditional rounds, ovals. And I would say the other piece too is that they've gotten taller.
Yeah.
Now we've got a 56-inch wall, which is, forever it was 48, and then it went to 52. Now we're at 56. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. 54-inch, not 56.
Okay.
We have a 54-inch wall. So, yeah, just that alone gives you a bigger body of water, a deeper body of water. So, and just the wall patterns have come a long way to give you an aesthetic look that you might be trying to accomplish as well. If you're not going to, even if you are going to subsink or not subsink, you may want a certain look about the pool so that it kind of blends with the landscape of your backyard, right? So there's multiple patterns there that helps with that idea, and the fact that it's that you can sink it and put that deck around it and create an environment that gives a nice aesthetic to the backyard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. And
Yeah.
it really just, I don't know, it's a whole different world than what it was, when
It
I was
is, yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
with above ground pools. And I did have a question about, the taller that they are now, the wall, does that change the maintenance at all?
Well, the only piece that it changes a little bit is the fact that you're putting more water in the pool. So, more water is more maintenance. So typically, no, that's the only piece it would have an impact on, would be just the maintenance side when it comes to it. Because again, when you've got more water, it requires a little more chemical, maybe a little more maintenance. So yeah, that it would have a slight impact there, but for those 2 inches, you're not talking about a lot. Yeah, but it can mean a lot just if I'm standing in that pool, that 2 inches could be a world of difference from a 48 or a 52 to a 54. So
Yeah.
that alone I think is where the industry has grown so much, because they've been able to make those products stronger and more durable. Is the reason they're able to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I would encourage anybody to click on the links in the show notes and look. You can see a lot of those designs on the Pride Pools website.
Right.
But then come in and just, talk about it, because you can really make any of those dreams
Sure.
of yours come true.
That's right. But and the beauty of the Claxton location is we have what we call a pool park out next to the store, where we have several pools set up. And so a visual can speak 1,000 words, right? So you can come in and actually physically see the different sizes that are available and say, oh, wow, that size works because I know it'll fit where I want to put it. And so being able to physically see them actually put up in its full glory is important. And so
Yeah.
having the pool park here, I think, is a big deal in helping people make that decision. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I believe there's one out in the Claxton parking area that had a deck around it
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
And man, it's just so pretty. And really to be able to see how that wood looks and see,
Sure.
you know, how durable everything is and
That's
be able
right.
to touch it makes all the difference.
It does. And so by having the deck around, as we were talking about earlier, about, you know, that aesthetic and what do you want it to look like. Now, again, all these pools are on ground, so none of them are subsunk, but at least you get an idea of what a deck would look like around the pool, partially or whatever. So we have that deck integrated into all 4 of the pools that are out there, so you can access by looking at each one of the pools with the deck that's out there. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think again, it's just a visual that gives, I think, credence to what the product would look like with it done that way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it really is quite something to see, and you know, beyond looking at it on your phone and on a picture,
that's right.
or on the computer.
Touch it, feel it. So it's important.
Whole
Absolutely. When you're
different
making that
ballgame.
kind of investment in your family in the backyard, you want to be able to do that. And so we try to provide as much physicality to the decision making. You know, so if we can do that, it gives, I think, the consumer more peace of mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to tell your brother Alex this next part because 2 of our most listened to episodes were 2 that you did on maintenance, and we split them up because they were so important
Yeah.
to really focus on. We did one on spa maintenance and we did one on pool maintenance. And I think it really resonated with listeners because we do have a lot of listeners who just have a spa.
That's right.
You know, and a lot of
right.
listeners who just have a pool. And so I think it's important.
And some that have both.
And some that are lucky
And
enough to have both.
That's right.
You better believe it. And I am currently trying to find them right now so I can go visit their houses
Yeah.
on the weekend. So if anybody wants to invite me to their pool and spa party,
That's
you know,
right.
I'm up for it. Talk about there are differences in the maintenance,
Yeah,
no doubt.
there is.
And you know, we're definitely dealing with different temperatures. So that probably
Sure.
to me says those are the big
It is.
ones.
That's right. So the first thing that's obviously staring and glaring is the volume of water, right? So an in-ground pool is going to have a lot more water
That's right.
than a spa will. So that in itself is, you know, self-explanatory, but just, you know, it's also understanding, oh, okay, well, it's going to take, you know, certain things to take care of this in-ground pool based on the volume of water. But now I have a spa that has 500 gallons and not 20,000 gallons. And so now we're talking tablespoons of certain product that helps condition that water to be perfect. So yeah, obviously the biggest glaring difference is the volume itself. And then temperature, as you brought up, is the fact that, you know, an in-ground swimming pool, and we, you know, in earlier comments that, you know, this time of year, that water can get pretty warm. You know, it gets, you know, mine at home right now is, I think, 89 degrees. And so, and we're, you know, June the 20th or June 19th. So, you know, it's one of those things where that water can get pretty warm. However, it's able to be exhausted. In other words, it doesn't have a cover on it, you know, whatever.
Right.
It's completely different than that body of water in the spa because, again, it's a much smaller body, but then also we're talking about temperature. Once the temperature gets up in about 92 range, it's a little more volatile. In other words, you have to treat it a little bit different. We educate consumers about that, about what's important product to use for that body of water as opposed to what you would use in an in-ground pool. So yeah, I mean, bromine versus chlorine in a body of water like a hot tub because of the volatility, and it's more stable. So the bromine is more effective in a spa, so you use it in the spa.
Right.
As a sanitizer. So
Right.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, the chemical makeups are going to be similar, but they're going to be also dramatically different, if that makes sense. I mean, because it can be, and the dramatic part is obviously the volume.
Yeah.
The volume being so much less in a spa, but still the basic chemistry is very similar with your alkalinities and making sure that your pH is correct. So pH is crucial for either body of water, and a good sanitizer for either body of water. So 2 real key components for either one of those bodies of water.
Yeah, and
Yep.
and it really is I think important to, when you go back and listen to those episodes, to really sort of kind of mark down maybe your questions and call
Yeah.
and ask those, because
Yeah.
if we didn't get to something,
That's right.
you know, you can get those questions answered. One question that came in, I believe, on the pool maintenance episode was, and I'm glad you just brought this up, was about pH. And it's real specific. So I just, you know, you're the expert. I'm just going to lay the question out for you. My test kit shows my pH is all over the place. One day it's high, the next day it's low. Is there something to stabilize it? Why is it important to Is it important to
Sure.
stabilize it?
Well, first thing I would say to that, if we're doing the test and suggest that we've either explained it or maybe we've not had the opportunity to explain how to do that test, it could be that the test, hopefully that we're doing it properly, because it shouldn't be erratic from one day to the next. And I would say the answer to that could simply be you either had bad test strips or the test reagents that you're using could be bad, because those do go bad. They do have a shelf life,
Right.
and they can go bad. So if someone is having the pH issue where they're testing the water one day and they decided to test it again the next day and it's dramatically different, I would say evaluate yourself, see how you're doing the test first and foremost. Second of all, if you're doing it properly, then it could be in the reagent or it could be in the test strip itself. So I would say that there's two things we need to consider, which is the actual test itself, and then the shelf life of the reagent and or the test strips. If both of those boxes have been checked and we think that everything is okay from that manner, if we're still having that fluctuation, because typically it's the alkalinity.
Mm-hmm.
The alkalinity buffers the pH. If the alkalinity is stable, in other words, if it's at the right reading it needs to be, the pH stays stable. So it could be that you tested the pH one day, you had a rain that night, you tested again the next morning, and it's 2 points lower,
Right.
or whatever. Well, it could be that the alkalinity, which is your conditioner, your buffer for the pH, it may be real low. And if it's real low, then you get this pH drift.
Right.
And it can happen. So,
Right.
so when it comes to good pH chemistry in your pool or spa, it is, to me, in my belief, well, just in our knowing this from all of our years being in it, that is paramount. It's one of those things that you got to make sure you keep it right, because then it helps keep all of your equipment healthy.
Sure.
Because if you got real high pH for a period of time, you start building scale, and it'll wear out your heater, your pumps, your things of that nature. And if it's real low for a period of time, it's acidic. And if it's acidic, then it starts eating out things that are important that make that pump work, or other things. And so pH is vital. Good pH readings are vital for good water chemistry in your pool or spa.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that if you've checked the box to make sure you're not having an issue with your test method, and then if it's not the reagents, not they're okay, or your test strip is okay, then it's probably the alkalinity is off.
Right. Right.
Then we need to make sure it's at a proper range.
Yeah, and from personal experience, that bucket of chemicals you got from your neighbor, maybe check on how long they've been sitting in his garage.
That's exactly right. And so chemicals typically have a shelf life as well. And so again, our goal is to make sure that consumers have what they need to have clear, healthy water. And pH is one of them.
Yeah.
So pH is crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One episode, if you missed it, that you need to go back and check out, which I love, is our outdoor living and product essential episode that aired recently. It was a really good roadmap of what you absolutely want to put on your wish list if you don't have these things.
That's right. Well,
I came off with so many ideas.
That's right. You know what? Backyard family fun we feel like the centerpiece of all that is either the pool or spa, right? And so we want that to be the main focus, but we also want people to understand and know that we've got those ancillary items that enhance those products. And so we want to make sure that they're aware that, we've got the Solo Stove, which is one of the coolest fire pits out there. We call them fire pits, fire features, or whatever. We think it is just awesome because of the smokeless aspect that it delivers. And then you've got, we've got thermocell, we've got Canyon coolers to keep your drinks cold out by the deck while you're sitting by the pool. I mean, we've got a host of things that we feel like that makes backyard family fun, just takes it to the next level. And so we encourage people to take a few minutes, bring that water sample in, take a look around, and you may find some really cool stuff. Plus the the speakers that we offer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're cool.
They're waterproof, and their design is unique and aesthetically pleasing. And so, we've got some really cool stuff. So yeah.
It is something, quite something. The first time I saw one of those Solo stoves, it was a really small one. And I thought it was cool then. But then I walk into the Claxton location and the big one is sitting right in the front.
That's right.
And I'm ooh, I want that one.
That's right. Well, and that's the cool thing is they come in different sizes.
Yeah.
And we have 2 different sizes to offer. We felt like the biggest one was, we felt like to accentuate the space, we wanted to have the big one in stock. And so, but yeah, I think if you're like most people, you probably like to spend a little time out by the pool or just outside in your backyard. And if you're going to be out there, enjoy it with something that's going to enhance the space. And so that definitely does it. Yeah. And not to mention, I didn't even talk about the awesome grills that we carry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we've got the Big Green Egg, which is, I wanted to point out, we were talking the other day and we were the first in Southeast Georgia 2005 to bring that product in place.
Is
and
that
so
right?
we were the original retailer or dealer for Big Green Egg in this part of the state. About probably a 7,500 mile radius. And so since 2005 we've been able to offer that product. And so we've got all the accessories to go with it.
That's right.
So yeah, and all the different sizes from the Mini Max up to the Double X, which is we've got on display,
which is crazy to
which
see.
you can fit in, by the way.
Fit in it. You're
That's
right. You're right.
So we've got all the cool accessories, and then of course we've got another cool line of grills, which is pellet grills. And so Green Mountain Grill, we brought that in about 7 years ago, and it has been a huge hit. So we feel like we've got anything a discerning customer wants, if they love to grill or cook and be out by the pool, we've got the product for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, every accessory that can go along with enjoying your backyard. I mean, it's possible here at Pride Pools. I know we're going to have a great conversation with Alex coming up as well and sort of just recap, not only the season, but also just this first part of the 50-year celebration.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that and the rest of our time as we are wrapping up season 1. But Marshall, this has been a really phenomenal season with so much good information.
There is. And so we hope to continue to deliver that information, Dee, and look forward to having these opportunities to sit down in the future again and talk more about it, and just looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you want to get your questions in, listeners, you can do that. The email is right there in the show notes, and make sure you reach out and tell Pride Pools how much you've been enjoying the show. Until next time, Marshall, we'll see you again on the next one.
Thank you, Dee.
Let the celebrations continue. The team at Pride Pools is excited to give you a huge anniversary special. Actually, 3 of them. To celebrate 50 years all year long, you can get up to $10,000 in savings on 3 anniversary fiberglass pools. There are 3 sizes to choose from: the backyard size, the family size, and the fun size. How cool is that? So stop by the Claxton or Savannah locations of Pride Pools or go to pridepools.com for more information. Thanks for listening. Come by and meet your local pool and spa experts in Claxton on Highway 280 West or in Savannah on Gateway Boulevard South, or go to pridepools.com. If you love backyard family fun as much as we do, be sure to give us a rating and review, and subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you have a question or topic you'd love for us to cover, drop us an email, info@pridepools.com, or tap the links for Facebook or Instagram in the show notes of this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's go make a splash and have some backyard family fun.
Pride Pools, Spas and Leisure.